I'm Carrie.
I'm Tony, and we are.
Two Cranky Creatives.
Thank you for listening. And remember, if you're impatient, allergic to ads, or just want to support our cranky little corner of the podcast world, join the Cranky Club. Subscribers get ad-free episodes and early access. Yep, a whole week early. Hit subscribe and join the club. What are we cranky about today, Ali?
Hey there. So I wanted to talk about how I truly don't think there is one size fits all or a blueprint for any creative to follow.
Excellent. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So hi, everyone. Today we are joined by the amazing Ali Hooten. Ali, will you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on the show. My name is Ali, and I run my own creative business called Quite Creative, where I'm primarily drawing repeat pattern designs for the children's market, specifically kind of a gender inclusive, gender neutral in boys, since having a boy and realizing I didn't like most of the designs out there. I'm a mom. I live in the mountains of Colorado currently, and I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining.
So tell us more. No blueprint for a creative. What do you really mean by that?
Yes. So I mean, so much of this is going to come from my personal experience and stories. And so I explain a lot, but going through all of surface pattern design illustration, I kind of would follow each new blueprint like, oh, okay, cool. If I do this, I'll be successful. If I have a wholesale business, if I do X amount of challenges or follow X amount of trends, and only to learn, as we all do, what works for me, what doesn't. Sometimes thinking, what is wrong with me? And also sometimes being like, yep, nope, that's not okay or not going to be for me. Cool that it works for other people. And then also, kind of along those lines, I've been getting really into, I don't know, self-reflection and awareness. And this is just a personal hobby of mine, but trying to start to understand why it is that some people can follow a certain blueprint and be successful and why others cannot, and how that might relate to our own biological makeup and nervous systems, and a way to internally explain like what is wrong with me, right? Quote unquote feeling, which I'm sure everybody has had at some point in time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what I think the blueprint concept is both annoying and interesting to me in general. Like, I mean, to be blunt, the moment somebody tells me they have a blueprint, I immediately want to run the other direction. Yeah, because I'm like, yeah, whatever. What you have is something that worked for you.
Right. Right.
You
And
know?
it may have worked for some people, but that does not mean that it works for everyone.
Right. Exactly. So I'm very curious, Ali, about how you're bringing this other lens into it, because I know I think our listeners are aware at this point that I've been in the corporate world for about 30 years. And so I have been subjected to the Myers-Briggs, the DISC, I know all. I've never been forced to take the Enneagram one.
Oh, I was going to ask about that. I don't even know what it is, but
I know vaguely what it is. But I do know like all of the other things that I supposedly am according to these various tests.
Do you remember what your Myers-Briggs is, by the way?
INFJ.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I am too. Huh, cool.
I am an ENFJ.
We're all very similar. Okay, well, we're maybe here today. Yeah, I mean, I have like a love-hate relationship with personality tests. Like, I think it's both a fun self-reflection tool to be like, oh, what's my human design, or what are my numbers, or what are my letters? But I never also fit into one box, and I don't think anybody should. And I think there's a lot of nuance with it. And so, as I get into today, like, keep that in mind, because I sometimes like organize my life into structured boxes only to break out of them or to give some kind of understanding. And this whole, all of this thought came from like, again, what is wrong with me? Or this blueprint doesn't work. And I I truly don't think there's one size fits all. I think every human is so unique and all of that. But it's interesting when it comes to creative advice, because even if we believe that, so many people want to share and are excited to be like, hey, this is what worked for me. Maybe you can do it too. And so I too cringe at the word blueprint, but I also feel like it's on me to be like, okay, put up the screen of understanding, curiosity, and just like, cool, this is what worked for them. Maybe some pieces will work for me and maybe not. And I think that is helpful in not just reacting in the cranky state necessarily, but having a little bit of curiosity. But that said, some people put it on as like, this is the one thing. And others don't. And so
I definitely hear what you're saying. I think the problem coming from both directions, right? Like the problem coming from the person giving the blueprint is treating it like it's a universal, right? Like if it worked for me, it will work for you.
Right.
And then the other side of that is thinking, well, it worked for that person, therefore it must work for me. And then when it doesn't, you have the kind of like the fallout, and especially for the person who's trying that blueprint, then all of a sudden it becomes the, what is wrong with me? Why didn't this work for me? And in some ways, I think Carrie and I are kind of like a good example of the same quote unquote blueprint. We took leverage at the exact same time. We took the exact same course. And Carrie has gone on to be wildly successful in art licensing. I gave it a shot and ran away because I was like, okay, this is not working for me. And I did get some licensing out of it, but when I reflected, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have the time to do what Carrie's doing. Right.
Yeah.
So like all the things that Carrie was doing do not work for my current lifestyle.
Right.
So I was like, this is just not going to be a thing. And so my few little handful of licensing deals are just fine. And if people find me and they want to license, that's great. But I'm not going to do what Carrie's going to do. But if you put us side by side, we would be like one's like, yes, the blueprint worked. And the other one's like, oh yeah, no, that was a complete and utter failure. Right.
Right. There's so much more nuance to it.
Exactly.
Pass fail. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, and I think you touched on something really interesting of like, there's the time of life, like the era you're in. Like I am in full on toddler blown era where my business is more in coasting mode than it is in growth mode. And it took me like 3 years to actually accept that and get down to that, and then realize like that's actually what I wanted at the end of the day. But anyway, there's the time part of the era of life. And then I think there is, coming back to the nervous system bit, what works for you. So for example, and I know you guys have touched on this on a lot of other podcasts, and maybe this is going to link together some common things creatives talk about, like trends, multiple income streams, draw every day challenges, or design challenges in general, right? Like I think we could hit all of these through a different lens where neither is right or wrong, but the big disconnect is realizing what works for you. And if you don't, you're going to be swimming upstream. Like for me to be like, okay, at 9 a.m. every day, I'm going to draw or morning pages or do a consistent thing daily. That freaks my entire system out. And I go into burnout. I run away. Like it's never going to work. And instead of having the shame of like, why doesn't this work for me? I'm not consistent enough. I lack willpower. It's actually that like that kind of routine or rhythm puts my whole entire body and system into dysregulation. Like that doesn't feel safe to me. That feels almost trapped. Whereas for some people, that routine and consistency actually takes off the layer of burden and feels really safe and comforting or helpful in order to keep growing and doing little bits. And so again, some people it might work really, really well. And if you lean more towards coming to my like 5 little boxes, if you want to play along the consistency type or mode, they might really thrive with a drawing every day concept, or social media posts, have a plan on each day and a post and all that kind of stuff, where some people might be like, oh my gosh, that's way too rigid, or just doesn't feel good and they burn out quickly. And this all came from me doing it and being like, cool, I got a 7-day streak. And then I just like crash and burn in the
Mhm.
opposite direction. And this happened like more than once,
Yeah.
many a times. So
I
anyway,
have a
I think, yeah,
I have a
yeah, go ahead.
question for you. So I'm probably fitting into the structured thing.
Mhm.
And so for me, and I don't know if anybody listening can relate to this, but I have a mood disorder. I have bipolar disorder. And whether you have bipolar or ADHD or depression or anxiety or none of those things, I found that even in my life, like with just things like changing the cat litter box or, having dinner at a certain time and getting up in the morning at a certain time, that is how my, my mood is able to be kept stable because
Mhm.
routine and structure. And I learned this from having a psychotherapist for a mother, but also having years of therapy and psychiatrists and doing a lot of research. And whether it's my work life or my personal life, that I'm curious. My question for you is, because I know for me, it's a lot of it just has to do with my brain and how my brain, feels safe. Like I'm very
Mhm.
organized. The house is clean. I get home from a trip and I have to unpack and put away everything before I literally even like sit down or eat, like period. Like it has to happen. But I've always been told, because I was taught that, for my mood disorder, that's the way to keep me stable and it works.
Mhm.
But as far as I've never heard it framed as far as like nervous system stuff.
Mhm.
So if you could go into more about, because this is really fascinating to me, your approach that's kind of based on the nervous system and how structures
Mhm.
work for certain people, I would love to hear about it.
Sure. And quick disclaimer, like I am no therapist. So fascinating. You grew up with a
Me neither.
psychotherapist
It's
and your
okay.
mother. Like this is really coming out of my personal experience of understanding things and, wanting to read like psychology and self-help books as a
Mhm.
side hobby. Um, but so my understanding, and we have a lot of neurodivergence in my family. I'm convinced I have ADHD. I'm not formally diagnosed. And so a lot of this has kind of crossed over with understanding that, but everyone has both their sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic being like the gas, parasympathetic being the brakes. And everyone has this like window of tolerance in it.
Mhm.
And the goal is to not always be like regulated, but you want your body to be both calm and alert, right? So you
Mhm.
can like respond to anything that comes up, but not be in this like hyper or hypo arousal state where parts of your body shuts down.
Right.
And you don't want to never go into those states because, I mean, evolutionarily, if a tiger is chasing after you, you want to be able to activate. But same with modern day things, you could make some parallels. It's more about coming back into that regulated state. And my whole connection is okay, if we were to learn more about this and understand how you're in a regulated state, where Carrie, it sounds like for you, routine and structure of knowing what happens in your day gives you this regulatory state where your body feels more safe and more comfortable to then act and go about the world. My husband's really, really similar. Um, so much to a T where I kind of like structure, but a ton of flexibility within it. Like I'm fighting two forces. And neither's right or wrong. It's more understanding that for yourself. And so, nervous system, it's a whole big nuance thing. Everybody has both types. It's just
Mhm.
understanding how you get regulated or how you can either become regulated again or stay regulated. And so my link here is okay, if you were to stay in a regulated state more or know what that means for you in business, that means you'd probably be happier in business. And I think if you're happier in your business and your creative world and practice, then you might be more successful. And so linking this and just understanding your own, I don't know, mixture, your own cocktail of type, I think it's a helpful way to not only see your business, but the world. And
Mhm.
I'm going to try to keep it to, circuit pattern design, illustration, and a lot of these things and answering for myself. Like I mentioned, the design challenges and
Mhm.
different little things that we run up against. And so this is no actual, I don't know, again, I'm not a therapist. This is my own understanding and breaking down and trying to categorize it in my brain to better understand. And maybe a fun way for listeners
Mhm.
to also be like, ooh, which areas do I kind of fit into? What makes sense for me? Oh, maybe this is why I don't like masterminds, or maybe this is why I thrive in them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which I think starts to ask or answer questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really I think the thing that gets missed the most in, and I'm just going to keep the US culture because this is where I grew up, is self-reflection. And we talk about that so much in society now that I feel like it's lost all of its power, kind of like self-care and self-reflect, like all of these things have just become kind of like these like little buzzy words that nobody really thinks about anymore. And, like for instance, like, I need a certain level of structure in my day, but if my day is too structured, I immediately like fight that because and let me take that back. It's not structure per se, it's order. I need order in my life. Like I can't have a messy workspace. I can't, and when we first got together, this drove my husband batty. But like everything has a home in my world, right? Like the keys have a home, like, and if they're not in their home, that is a problem for me, and so I have PTSD, and what I came to realize as I entered therapy and was working through is that I can't have the mental load of why is that out in his home? How did that get moved? I just need things to be where they are because I have enough other mental processing that's going on behind the scenes constantly that these other things put me into burnout immediately. Now, when you translate that into work, what that means is that if there is disorder around me, I cannot be creative. So instead of that hour being spent drawing or painting or whatever, I'm going to be organizing my desk. And so, it's like, these are the things that I think that honestly took me months to figure out about myself. But I think a lot of people just kind of like continue to exist in this state of, I don't know what the problem is, and then just keep moving forward. And we don't encourage that level of self-understanding because we have a grind and hustle culture. Like if you're not producing, something is wrong with you. Instead of being like, no, it's okay to take 2 weeks, 2 months to figure out who you are as a person and then turn around and use that to your advantage. The end of every workday for me is putting everything back in its place so that when I come back the next day, I do not have to spend even 10 seconds doing that so that I can get right to being creative.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
I even go as far as like my desk. So I will save stuff onto my desktop, like screenshots or, files that I need to organize. But then, and when I say desktop, I mean my computer desktop. And when I minimize my windows and close Photoshop and stuff, I look at my desktop and I make sure that it's empty. Yes. And I'm also one of those crazy people that hates having one email in my inbox. I can't do it. And I know some people think I'm insane. Yeah. But so what does that say? And Tony and I, when we first met, before we even decided to do the podcast, we realized how similar we were.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for somebody who's listening who is like us, or somebody who's listening who isn't, or who thinks we're crazy for living like this? Like, I know you're not a therapist, but you obviously know quite a bit about it and you've had a lot of experience. So,
I mean, I can deeply relate, like back to even traveling. I have to have all the laundry clean and put away in order to start packing.
Yep.
And working, I need the clear desk. My weird thing is like the floors have to be vacuumed and mopped. And
I'm the same way.
Like, I don't know why the floor trigger, but if I like start to stick on something when I'm walking, it like throws off my entire day. And part of me is like, okay, I need to increase my tolerance for this and be okay with it. But also like, I also have to accept that that's part of me. And actually in realizing all of this, we have been like going way towards a more minimalist lifestyle, not from an aesthetic standpoint, but from a mental load standpoint. Okay. Like decreasing decisions, decreasing the amount we have to manage. We are going to move back into apartment life and downsize from a 1,700 square foot single family home, which isn't like, that is like a modest size, I feel like, to this day and age, but we're like, we need less to manage. And so there's a balance of like, okay, how can I learn how to function in this, or what's the bare minimum? Is it just, if I can clean up everything at the end of the night within 15 minutes, that is reasonable, right? So it's not saying like everything has to be clear all the time, but is there a time cap to get it
Yeah.
to be a better state?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really common thing with creatives too. And it sounds like we're all very, very similar in thought as well, which I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of other surface pattern designers and illustrators who feel the same way. But there is, I don't know, I think it is the balance. It's striking the balance. And to us, having less decisions, less household things to manage, bringing in some systems and routines. Like my husband loads the dishwasher and runs it every night, even if it's not 100% full. And we empty it first thing in the morning, and like that keeps the sink from exploding and becoming another thing that you're like, I have to do this before I can sit down and draw. I mean, yeah, that's so funny. The floors. I'm so glad we connected on that. I feel like we're the person. Now
I have
everyone
a trick for you. I have the same thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I do want to ask you, what would it feel like? Because I mean, I can describe what it feels like for me, but from my point of view, but I've never approached it from a nervous system type thing. I would love for you to talk about what it feels like how do you know when you're feeling that burnout or that overwhelm? But I do have a quick floor trick for you. So so I'm the same way. And I do this a lot where I'm like, oh my God, this drives me crazy. And my skin feels like it's crawling off my body. Probably, I don't know why that is. I just have issues. But anyway, it's fine. I'm fine with it. But I've spent years and years going, I have to get used to this. And when I tell myself that, then I realize that I'm kind of criticizing myself for not being okay with it. So I realized, what can I do within reason to actually change without moving to a different house or putting in a whole new floor? What can I do so that I minimize some of the intensity of my reaction to mine is seeing dirt and crumbs and cat litter on the floor, which I have 3 cats. So my kitchen was the worst. Our floors are like these beige, horrible tiles, and they're awful, but they show everything. So what I did was I bought some really cheap stick-on linoleum. They're not even linoleum. They're like vinyl tiles from Amazon. They were super cheap. And I just spent like 4 hours covering up the horrible tile, but the pattern on them is like ink blots. And so when I look at it, I can't see it. It tricks my mind. The crumbs and dirt are still there. I vacuum, obviously, once a week, but now I can't see it. But I didn't have to replace the whole floor. The whole thing cost me like $30 for the whole set of tiles in a few hours. But I do things within reason so that I'm like, it's not all on me. I can make a minor change. So I don't know what that would mean if you put down an area rug or I'm serious, but like little things that are inexpensive that make it more tolerable. It doesn't mean overhauling everything. And I've started doing that like in my life with a lot of other little things. But anyway, so I just described what it feels like for me, which may probably be extreme because as someone bipolar, I have extreme reactions to things internally. But for a normal, I hate to say normal, but for a person, who maybe doesn't have a severe mood disorder or whatever, what does it feel like? And what does it feel like for you when you do experience this overwhelm? Do you like, or you feel like, oh my God, these systems are not working and everything's going haywire and I'm about to shut down?
Yeah, no, first of all, brilliant little hack. And I will say, we are not moving just because of the floor thing.
I didn't think so.
There are many, many other decisions surrounding that. But I do think there is truth in like lessening the load, and again, like the cleanup of the desk in the evening, or switching the tiles and little things like that. I feel like I have extreme reactions, but I also feel like I'm very on the highly sensitive spectrum of people. And to me, the biggest difference, if I feel like annoyed, like, oh, okay, it's sticky. All right, I'll get to that later. Another thing on my to-do list. That's not a big deal. But if I see it, I start to feel like fire raging through my body. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I might like catch on fire any second. Like I feel like I'm literally going to blow up. That is when I know it is a really intense reaction. And sometimes that reaction is just the tipping point, right? It's the last straw. It's like a built up system of lots of little things adding up. the cat litter specifically gets me so badly. And then our like litter box doesn't work. And then there's pee all over the floor, and then the cat's chopped pee prints, and like those things set my system off in a different way than like a little stickiness here and there. Or maybe some crumbs. But anyway, this floor analogy, we're just gonna run with it. So I feel like a burning sensation. And that's when things I know are really extreme. That's when I start to know, okay, this is more dysregulating. Like if you're trying to force yourself to write a social media post or sit down and draw, and you just like, you hate it, it doesn't feel good. Like I wouldn't even say walk away and come back. I would just say like, hey, that doesn't work for you, or at least not today. And you can try when you're feeling in like the calmer, regulated state, and maybe that'll work, or maybe it's just not the right thing. Maybe you work more in waves, in a big burst, ton of things come out, and then you need a really big chunk of nothing. And I think that's okay too. Like again, back to the productivity culture we mentioned of being productive is this like gold standard where I think we have to reframe what productive means, because I think it's going to look differently for everyone.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think this might be getting too esoteric. And I just want to throw in there, like floors are a thing for me too. But my husband takes care of the floors because I hate to vacuum and like do all that stuff. So he does it. So I've had to build up my tolerance levels at certain things. But my thing is I always wear house shoes. I will never go barefoot in my house just so that I can't be triggered.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have slippers or house shoes so that I can't feel what's on the floor on my feet.
Exactly.
Yeah, and socks don't cut it. It has to have a hard bottom.
Exactly. It's got to be a house shoe with like an actual sole.
Yep.
So we can just be collectively weird. But so here's where I was going though. I think we put too much judgment into things, and I think that is contributing to the reaction. Like a long time ago, I had a conversation with someone about like the way we use words in America and how we often use them incorrectly, or we don't think about what they really mean. And this kind of, and this is a very intellectual person, and it kind of spiraled into a conversation about good and bad versus productive and unproductive and all of these things. And my takeaway from it all these years later is that we really do need to watch our self-talk that involves language that may not be intended to be judgy, but ultimately is. Right. And so like, I try not to ever label anything good or bad, but I do try to look at things and say, are they productive or are they unproductive? Are they helpful to me? Or are they unhelpful to me? And get away from, I'm doing it right or I'm doing it wrong. This is good or this is bad, and all of these things. And English is such a screwed up language to begin with, with they, there, and there, and like, here and here, and I can be here, but I can also hear, and, and it's just like these these words that, and then the imprecision of our language, and it's just like and then I'm a writer, so English is like fascinating to me in general and like the way we use words, but when we add that in to our reactions to things, right? Like the way I know that I am becoming overwhelmed is I lose awareness of my spatial, like of myself in space, right? Like I will see that I'm bumping into things, right? So I don't have that, like Ali, you described like this fire sensation, right? And Carrie, you described, but for me, literally, is that I become detached. Right.
So you dissociate. I mean, I don't know if it's full on dissociation, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I lose all spatial awareness. I'll drop things. I'm bumping into things, and like, and then when I notice it, I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Let's figure out what's the trigger. You know what I'm saying? And
that's really cool. Noticing it is like half the battle.
Yeah.
Your tells. Yeah.
Well, like, and the holidays are, and like this morning, I bumped into the table twice in the span of 10 minutes. And I was like, fuck, all right, what is going on? You know? And I'm like, was in the process of trying to figure that out before we got on, and it was just like, oh, you know what? Yeah. I'm not looking forward to the holidays. Holidays are a rough time for me. So I'm like, okay, Thanksgiving, set it off. Okay. But it's that kind of thing. And I think, when you add in this imprecise language, this hustle grind culture, the fact that we are not encouraged to look into ourselves, it gets labeled as woo woo. It gets labeled, as all of these things that are negative. We just end up in this quagmire of feeling and reactivity, and not really understanding what's going on around us.
And we're lost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these, blueprints or, programs and I'm not speaking about anyone specifically. I'm just talking about in general, or just the feeling when you get on Instagram and you're like, oh, I should be doing this. Why am I failing that I'm not posting as much as this person, or my art isn't as good as this person's, or whatever? It's like you feel lost because you don't know what is, like, you don't even know where to start. You don't know if it's you don't know why you feel this way. You're like, am I failing? Am I not doing enough things? Am I doing too many things? Am I doing it wrong? And it can make things worse. And some people end up, turning it inward and feeling bad about themselves. I've learned to turn it outward and just be cranky, but but it still sucks. It still sucks. And I think the idea of a blueprint is a great concept, but it can be sometimes do more harm than good, because it expects you to be in this box. And if you're not, then you are more lost than you were before you discovered it.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's so true. Or you could try to be like, okay, I'm going to make my own blueprint. I'm going to create 10 new patterns a month because that seems what works for me, or I don't know, whatever it means.
Yeah.
And then you realize that too doesn't fit. Like, so I think humans, we want some level of structure and order and some kind of rhythm, but what that is unclear. So again, I'm not thinking of one particular blueprint or one size fits all thing or creator that's saying it. It's more about being curious about each one, understanding like, okay, if I'm starting to feel the fire in my body or bumping into the walls or my skin is itching, falling off, like that's pushing it too far, where I think there is something where like, okay, where can I kind of push myself and try something uncomfortable? There's complete validity in that. It's just what really works. Like I was in a mastermind, and while it was a lovely group of women and I really liked the social bit of being in a small group, I found myself so brainwashed is the wrong word because no one was brainwashing me. I was just kind of like a squirrel, like, oh, yeah, oh, cool, that idea. Oh, that one. Oh, that one. And so I'm like doing all these cool things, which is really fun. And I guess that kind of touches into like some need for novelty and exciting newness. But I also felt like when I walked away from it, I had way more calm and like what I actually wanted to do than feeling like I was this pinball. And not everyone's reaction is that way. And this was a very personal understanding or experience through it. And that's not even to say a mastermind was bad for me, but I think I function better when it's just myself and I can kind of have like no noise and quiet and engage socially when I want to. Yeah. Instead of having this certain pressure behind it of feeling like I'm in it. And that's going to be different for each creative. So I think,
I think
it's tricky.
No, I agree with you completely. And I think what's actually coming to mind for me is Bruce Lee. So bear with me for a second while I draw the connection. So obviously everybody knows who Bruce Lee is, right? Kung Fu Master or whatever, all of the movies, Kung Fu Saturday. But not everybody knows he was also a philosopher and writer, right? So I've actually only ever seen one Bruce Lee movie, but I have read many of his books. And he is famously quoted as saying, research your own experience, add what's uniquely yours, discard what, or absorb what's okay, let me start it over because I messed it up. Research your own experience, absorb what's useful, discard what's useless, and add what's uniquely your own. And I discovered that at a point in my life where I was floundering, and I heard that, and it kind of became my mantra. And I use that all of the time. And I think that kind of like in this conversation, that's really what we're talking about, right? But the thing that I find really, really interesting is if you see that quote out in the world, it negates the first line, research your own experience. It usually starts with absorb what's useful. And we don't, and I think it's all of the pieces, right? So like we're talking about blueprints, but if you really get down to the nitty gritty of a blueprint, it's just a plan.
Yeah.
It's just a plan. It's a framework, right? It doesn't mean necessarily, and even if you go look at blueprints, that doesn't necessarily reflect the way the building was built, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's just, that was the original plan for this. And then there's the way the building ended up at the end. But what we don't do enough of, I think I've harped on it at this point, is look into ourselves and really figure out what works. But like the blueprints, the masterminds, and like all of these things, I think they're fine. What I think is the bigger issue is this collective unconscious of people wanting a formula.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You know, like, okay, that worked for you. So if I follow and don't get me wrong, there are the people that are like, follow my plan, follow it to the letter, and this is going to work. And no, to me, that's just shark oil. But, you know, then it's like, I want a formula. And I think part of that is we also need to understand that urge within ourselves. Like, I think this is where a bigger problem, and I'm not going to try and take us into the weeds or anything like that, but like gatekeeping information, you know, or you're not allowed to have this unless you pay $6,000 to be a part of my group, you know, and all of these things. But like groupthink is a problem.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting to me because we talk about American exceptionalism, but the moment you start trying to stand out too hard or do things too differently, there's kind of a lot of pushback.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You
it's like
know?
this illusion of individuality, but in reality, Americans are expected to kind of conform.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
think about the
100%.
popular and the unpopular kid at school. You're taught that like really early,
Right.
you know, and I was the unpopular kid, so I know what it feels like to not be
Yeah, I was.
conforming correctly.
Yeah.
So
I was
yeah.
a nerd.
Right. Or like or it's so cool to like, oh, you can make so much money and like be a successful business, but the minute you're making, you know, I don't know, millions of dollars or some big wealth amount, it's like, oh no, we don't want to hear about that. We don't want to talk about that. Or
Yeah.
oh, they're
Yeah.
the bad people, which that's not to say there's other ways I can get into this conversation. But I do think there is a little bit of hypocrisy within that for sure.
Yeah.
And morality based, which you touched on before, the good versus bad, and just morality based of being a designer of what productive means and what you do, and if it's better to follow trends or not follow trends, and it's just so much more nuanced. But you don't know that when you're starting out, and you want to grasp onto some kind of formula or just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
What should I do? Which I get. I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm reminded of also, I used to teach English at the local university. I taught Comp 101 to freshmen. And the first day of school, I would always ask them, what do you think my job is? And they would tell me how I was supposed to teach them how to write. And my response was, I can't teach you how to write. You know, that's not my job. Like, I can teach you some rules of composition, but I can't teach you how to write. My job is to teach you to think. And they would get like, what are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
And I was like, and with rare exception, they were all like 18 years old. And I'd be like, so you're going to get really mad at me, but up until now, you are the collective consciousness of your parents, your friends, your teachers, and if you go to church, your pastor. I'm like, you are not thinking originally yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, so my job is to challenge all of that and get you to start thinking on your own. And they would kind of freak out and not really enjoy that answer. But I am reminded of that here because when you come into service design or really any new endeavor, we're all the collective consciousness of the teachers, the people doing the tutorials, the classes, the blueprints, right? When in reality, I think we all need to learn how to think for ourselves. Yes, take the tools and figure out who you are and what, and Ali, this is what I'm getting from what you've been saying, like take all of those things, but figure out who you are, research your own experience, and like then work to apply those things and see how, build your own blueprint from there.
Yeah.
Right. And you might not ever have a blueprint. It might always be adapting and evolving and changing. And I mean, what a great question to ask, Tony, like the students. I taught at a university too, and I like love the mind bending one. That's such a cool way to start your class.
I know. It's like stand and deliver level awesomeness. That's pretty cool. Like, damn. So when you say research, what are we talking about? So I'll jump in and say my experience is I'm not very good at research. I just do it. My way of researching is I'm just going to try it. I don't even think about it. I don't even, because if I think about it for too long, I won't do it. I'm going to second guess it and go, oh, well, that's already been done, or that's not going to work because of this, this, and that. I'm like, nope, it's just better. I'm so impatient anyway. I'm like, it's going to take me less time to just try this and see how it feels. Yeah. But if for somebody who would want to do that research, like how do you go about it? Like what do you do that, helps you kind of learn those things other than just doing them?
Is that for me or for Ali?
Both. Yeah.
Ali, do you want to answer first?
Sure. I'll go first. I'm curious to hear both your answers though. I think that this is really interesting. That kind of comes to the advice of like start messy, which again, might not work for everybody. I am a big experimenter. Like I am the person who has to learn, quote unquote, the hard way. Like I have to embody things myself before knowing the decision. And I might loop and spiral around decisions forever and until I actually make some kind of action towards it, which sounds really similar, Carrie, in some ways, then I don't know. Whereas my husband, who is not a designer, just side note, but he is someone who literally has to feel like he's so, he does actually research. Let's say he wants to buy a new pair of shoes. Sorry, I'm going to go with a weird analogy here. He is going to research reviews and types and like look at all these different YouTube videos or podcasts or books, or maybe this is about an example of shoes, but he's going to analyze it until he feels that, okay, this is the best answer. Where to me, I don't really know what the best answer is. And whenever I try to like guess and pick, it's always wrong. So that's why a part of the reason I just kind of jump into stuff and why it's like trying on clothes, like trying on all these different design little tactics and things. Like, okay, I'll try on the 100-day challenge. Like, did not work. And other things like really work for me. And so set color palette, really fun for about a week or two. After a week or two, I want to change into something else. And so I think there's a lot of just experimenting, but that's my personal way of going about it, I guess, of researching. What about you, Tony?
So I don't mean research quite so literally. And by the way, my husband's the same way about buying things. I laugh because he'll be like, did you check the reviews? And I'm like, huh? No, I didn't look at the review. But for me, when I say for me, I think maybe observation might be better. So so there's like a running joke in my family that I'm not allowed to go to Trader Joe's. And I'm not allowed to go to Trader Joe's because I will get violent and I will want to like elbow the person next to me because nobody has personal space in Trader Joe's. And so that's like funny. Literally the last time I was there, my husband like apparently looked at my face at one point. He handed me the car keys and he was like, go get in the car. You're not allowed to be in here anymore. But I was thinking about it afterwards and I was like, you know what? I was getting tense. I was becoming angry because people don't have personal space because it's too small to begin with and there are too many people there. But so for me, it was like, oh, that's what it looks like when I get really angry in public. Okay. Or like, oh, that's what it feels like when I like the way, like I was literally practicing chinoiserie painting. It's something I'm trying to learn this morning. And I was doing like using this really like this Chinese brush that's super long. And I'm like, I love the way this brush feels in my hand. I have so much control with this brush versus I've tried to do other like typical American style brushes. I'm like, I fucking hate this. Like this does not work for me. So just like observing those reactions to myself and being like, I remember the first time I found Lisa Glanz's watercolor brushes, which I'm not an affiliate, but buy all of her shit. Everything she does is amazing.
Love her too. Yes.
The first time I found her watercolor brushes, and I use them, I was like, this is what I want to feel like when I am using Procreate. This feels so good. And I think I have 300 brush packs, but I use 2. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they're both Lisa Glanz. And so it's like, that kind of thing, that observation of, this stresses me out. I'm doing this and like I'm literally sweating and I'm feeling like my hand is tight and I don't like this. Okay, this is not going to work for me. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, and like Carrie, like with pitching, I was like trying to do the schedule and the research and follow all of Stacy's advice for how to make this efficient. And I was like, I feel exhausted and I hate this. And I have 2 hours a day after my day ends. And I'm still not willing to quit my day job. So this does not work. You know what I'm saying? And like that kind of thing. And just like looking at yourself and observing your reactions and saying, you know what, I really just don't like this. And if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. So I might as well just, be honest with myself about it. So
yes. No, I mean, I feel like that is the understanding of when you're dysregulated or regulated. And that goes back to my belief that if you are regulated, you'll be happier in your business and be more successful and create better work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Feeling, and I'm kind of, I tend to disconnect from myself too without realizing it. So sometimes it takes me a while to realize I'm dysregulated. And also, again, like being somebody with bipolar, I have to kind of question, is this my brain chemistry or is this the actual external thing that I'm doing, or the thing that's going on that I have no control over? Like, our neighbors redid their roof. And I don't know if you guys have ever been in a house where the roof is being redone, also sucks. Or even when the next door neighbor is doing it. And I'm sitting here trying to be calm and draw. And I'm like, I can't, I have to go. And I left. But it takes, I think sometimes it takes me a little extra questioning, but yeah, it's interesting because when you become, I guess, dysregulated, Tony, you kind of lose your sense of space. And I can see myself doing similar things. I think that's coping mechanism from trauma, I guess, because you dissociate because you're like, if I don't like this, I'm just not going to be here, even though you are still there. But I noticed, like, if I start feeling these things, it takes me a little extra effort. But now when I do notice those things, or I do realize, a perfect example would be, and it took me a long time to get here. If I sit down to draw and you know what it feels like. I'm sure you guys do, and everyone probably does. When you sit down and you're like, I have this great idea and I know exactly what I want to make. And you're even okay if it doesn't turn out like it did in your head, but you start trying to draw and you're trying to draw a dog face and it looks like an owl's butt or whatever you know what I mean? And then you're like, no, let me look at some reference photos, and maybe I'm just not approaching this mindfully enough yet. Let me slow down. And no matter how hard you try, everything you're drawing just looks horrible and you hate it. It took me a really long time to realize that it's what I call a bad drawing day, which is exactly the same as a bad hair day. Yeah. If I wake up and it doesn't matter what products I put in my hair, it doesn't matter if I wet it and blow dry it or whatever I do, and it isn't necessarily that it's my hair or it's my drawing, it's the state that I'm in. And that's just not going to happen for me that day. So some days I just wear a hat and some days I just don't draw.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. The whole, like, as long as you show up, I actually believe it's better to not show up sometimes.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
in not showing up, you're showing up for yourself in other ways that you might need. And so, I don't know, that's another buzzword, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, and if you disconnect from yourself, like Tony, the way you bump into things, you're losing your sense of mindfulness.
Yeah.
And you have to be mindful in order to recognize these things in yourself, but also to be an artist. You can't just, I can't do any good work when I'm not being mindful and in the moment. If I'm thinking about, am I going to make money on this? What platforms and products am I going to put this on? I'm like, no, I just need to think about what I'm doing right now and just focus on the drawing and not worry about what is going to happen with this drawing.
Yes, totally. I work in like crazy waves, even seasonal. Like I might design 30 patterns in a month, but then not pick up a pencil for like 3 months. And that might sound like complete, I don't know, craziness to some people, but I finally recognized that and accepted it, because first I noticed it, but I was like, this isn't good. But now I'm like, yeah, that's how I create. It's very much in bursts. And
Yeah.
And then embracing that, I feel like I come up with better ideas, and then I can truly rest in the in between, which is hard for me to do. But that's a whole different conversation in itself. But it's just understanding, like you said, and it's okay not to show up. If anyone needs the permission to not show up, it's okay. Then you're showing up in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this might be a good place to move into advice. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
I feel like calmer already just having this conversation.
Exactly.
Did we touch on nervous system and the sense of blueprint and everything that made sense?
Yeah.
In circles.
I think this might actually be one of our most coherent episodes.
I know. Yeah, we stayed on track.
Okay, great.
I'm proud of us.
Me too. Ali, why don't you start? So like, if you're new to this, or even if you're not, and you're just kind of like frustrated and, feel like a ping pong ball, like what would your advice be?
Goodness, advice without giving you a blueprint and a one size fits all. No, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of just putting on your curiosity experimenter hat and really tracking and being cognizant of what feels good and what feels good in your body, what, related to design and how you're going about things, like what kind of rhythms. And you might have to give it 1 or 2 weeks for each different kind of rhythm or something that you're trying out. Like, don't write it off right away, and try it all on, like trying on clothes, and just take note of it and try to be self-aware or reflective in order to then find what works for you in the best regulated state and how to be the most present and calm and alert in your business for the future.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. Very sage advice. My advice will be a blueprint, but it's not really a blueprint, but it's my favorite quote that is a bumper sticker on my mom's car. And it is something I always come back to is don't believe everything you think. Mm-hmm. So just because you're, sitting down to do something like draw a picture or whatever, and, you're like, oh, this isn't working, I'm terrible. Or, if you're following a blueprint or thinking that there's this magic solution, or if I want to be like this person, I'm going to pitch this many times a day, or I'm going to follow this, formula, and it's not working for you. When you start thinking things like, I'm failing at this, why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? Like you said, Ali, just acknowledge that it's just a thought. And just because your brain is telling you something is reality does not mean that that's really what's happening. It means that, you just need to like maybe do something else. But we're so quick, and maybe it's because we're women. I don't know. I can only speak as a woman, but I'm so quick to be self-critical. It's so easy for me. That's like the cop out. And I always work hard every day to try not to do that. And part of it is not believing everything I think. So if I follow someone's blueprint and I don't achieve what they achieved, or I do a 100-day challenge, which I know better than to do, and I don't get through day 5, I don't, if I have a thought like, oh, well, I couldn't do this because I'm not good enough or whatever, I just go, nah, I'm not going to believe that. Just because that little voice in my head tells me that. That doesn't mean that it's true. So, yeah.
Cool. I like that. I I'm just going to bring it back to Bruce Lee, truthfully. Like, the blueprints, the plans, the guides, the classes, they all have something valuable in them, but pick out what works, ignore what doesn't, and figure out how to make it yours so that you can be successful in who you are in whatever endeavor you're doing. So
Nice.
cool. I think that's a wrap for that. Now we get to the favorite part, at least for me. I don't know if anybody else thinks it's their favorite
I
part.
love it. It's so fun and funny.
Yeah. So these are our hot seat questions. And so, Ali, what is your least favorite software platform that everyone loves, but you just can't?
Oof, okay, I don't know if everyone loves it, but I really despise accounting software like QuickBooks or Xero. Hate it. I think it's horrible.
I get you. I know. I don't particularly care for QuickBooks, and my husband just got a new accountant and he was all like, "I love QuickBooks. Oh my God!" And I was like, "Oh, okay, you do you."
Yep,
Yeah.
those are my least favorite, if that counts as a software
Oh
program.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I deliberately don't put like in our industry, like I put no like boundaries around these questions because I want to see what people say. I think it was Anna Bianchi who, like, I asked her what platform she hates, and like it was a subway platform.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was so awesome.
Yeah.
I love
that's
that.
awesome.
All right, next question. What is your least favorite buzzword that you wish you could erase from everyone's vocabulary?
Okay. I don't know if this counts as a buzzword. Scale up or level up. Like this feeling of always doing more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. That's cool. I like
kind of in the buzzword category, but that's one of them. You said another one while we were talking that I was like, oh, that's a good one too, but now I forget.
All right. Least favorite piece of advice you hear floating around our industry?
Ooh. Either consistency is key, or that kind of in line with that of like just show up each day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to reiterate it. I think if you don't show up, then you're showing up in a different way for yourself, and that I don't think you have to show up in the same way.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
that's a good one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're going to call that a wrap. But before we let you go, Ali, please tell everyone where they can find you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for chatting today. I am probably best found on my website is kind of the hub of everything. So coitcreative.com, and that's Coit, COIT, creative. And then I'm also at Coit Creative on things like Instagram and Pinterest.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here, Ali. This is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both.
You gave me a lot of good things to think about too. So
yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Oh, this was fun. This was fun just to talk about and talk with other creatives. So thank you so much.
If you're loving this podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, we'd love it if you could rate and review us. Your support helps more people discover the show, and it keeps us going strong. Thanks for tuning in. It means a lot. I'm Tony.
And I'm Carrie. It's okay to be cranky.
In the meantime, keep creating.
Two Cranky Creatives is produced by me, Tony Federico, and my co-host, Carrie Cantwell. Carrie handles sound editing, I wrangle marketing and communications, and together we keep this cranky train on the tracks. Thanks for listening.